our corporate campus, I think it's one of the largest in the world. It's 115 buildings, 15 million square feet. Wow. And we're now collecting across buildings that were built over around 30 years, over the last 30 years, about 500 million data points a day.
500 million data points a day are coming out of sensors that are embedded in the buildings themselves.
Yeah, air conditioning systems all the way down to the fire extinguishers, which need to be recharged in order to comply with fire codes.
So every plug, light switch, light fixture.
Well, not quite every, but yeah, very close, very close.
So you have, I'm sorry, how much data?
So 500 million data points a day.
Wow, and that's a lot of data. Obviously, it's big data. But what does that allow you to do, and how much of that? I would imagine that some of that's relevant. Doesn't change very often. Some of it changes quite often. So how do you sort through that?
So, I mean, the great thing is we actually don't sort through it. So historically, I think we had 6 or 7 building management systems that we'd inherited or built over the course of a few decades. And really the magic in the big data isn't just the volume of data, but it's actually the aggregation and seamless integration of the data. So whereas before, if you were managing some of our buildings, you'd have to go from my screen here to this screen here to this screen here, and then you try to figure out, well, which of these things is most important and what do I do? And then maybe you'd send a bunch of guys out in the field and they'd look up in the ceiling and figure out what's going on. Okay, that's sort of the historical way. The way we've created our new sort of living lab, as you call it, is actually there's a bunch of algorithms that happen. You have one screen, and that screen actually gives you alerts and prioritizes those alerts based on whatever rules you think, as a landlord, in our case, as an operating company, are important. And it totally transforms the way you think about buildings.
So give me an example of a kind of alert that you might want to get.
So a perfect example is, let's say that you came to my office and we were both in my office and my kid is here. It's very comfortable, maybe 70, 72 degrees. We actually have no idea that very often the heating system and the air conditioning system, historically not talking to each other, were both on. So we're pumping hot and cold air into the system. That's extremely wasteful. Right? But as human occupants, we're not going to recognize that, but a system will recognize that. So that would be one potential example. And there are literally thousands of faults that happen on a campus the size of Microsoft on a given day sometimes. I mean, we've gotten a payback of 18 months. And what's remarkable about that is we're in the 3rd lowest power cost in the United States, which means we're one of the cheapest markets in the world for energy, and we have one of the mildest climates in the US. So if you say, wait, if we can do it in 18 months with those conditions, imagine what our customers can do in expensive markets.
Right. If you can make it here, we can make it anywhere.
Yes.